and welcome back. Oh, I am so excited. We've got a lot of good things in store for you. So today, Kiana from City Fresh Gardens is going to talk about planting in containers, and she's going to show you how to do that. But before she gets started with that, there's one thing that you have to remember. When you come outside, you gotta warm up because you don't want to hurt yourself. You gotta loosen those muscles. You gotta get everything going. So stay tuned, be right back. The purpose of the video is to exercise, to educate you guys, and to encourage healthy eating. And before we get started with planting, whether it's in containers or whether it's in the ground, you must remember, warm up. And Kiana's gonna get started in showing you how to plant in containers.
All right, so let's talk about container gardening. And today I'm going to show you how to plant a few different things. So these are elephant ears, which is like a flower. It's a type of plant. So this is something that you can plant in a container. This is an elephant ear bulb, so you can start with bulbs. There's different things you can start with. You can start with a transplant. This is a house plant. You can start from seed, and you would start in little trays like these to get your seed started. And you would also want to start with the seed planting mix. So there's a few different types of soil you want to use based on what you're planting. So something like an elephant ear can use a heavier type of soil. With containers, you will want to start with a well-drained soil, and also making sure that you're planting your bulb the correct way, because if you plant it this way, then it won't germinate. You want to start with the bulb here, where you can see that little piece that's about to come out of the top. So you would want to take this, and you're going to plant it 6 feet down. If you have, 6 inches down. If you have a measuring tape, you can use that. But if not, you can just kind of, use your hand. I would say right here would be like 1, 2, 3 inches deep. So maybe 2 of your first finger, you want to go about that deep when you plant this in here. And you're going to place this right in the center with that bulb tip facing up. And then you want to cover the soil over. Make sure you pack it down a little bit to get a little secure. Make sure it's secure. And then you will water. So with this size container, you'll start making sure that the temperature is right if you're going to start outside. So it needs to be about 40 to 45 degrees at night and 70 degrees during the day for most flowers that are perennials before you, and bulbs when you start to planting them. So temperature is important with that, as we talked about in other videos. With most plants, you have to have the correct temperature to get proper germination or to get the plants to grow. So well-drained soil, proper temperature, and planting the bulbs correctly is the optimal way to get your plants to grow. In seeding, you want to start with a lighter soil, which would be a seed starting mix. So this is lighter soil, which is usually like perlite or peat moss, which helps with proper draining. Lighter seed starting mix helps with seed germination. So you don't want to use a heavy soil with the seeds, as we talked about in another video before as well. You want to use light soil when you're using these smaller trays. You can use these, which is peat pellets. That also helps with seed germination. Just drop a seed in the center, and this will help get your seeds started. With indoor plants, there's containers that you can use that are self-watering containers, which pretty much stores water at the bottom so your plants won't dry out. So as far as this planting with something like this elephant ear, this one has drainage holes at the bottom, and this would allow water to leak out the bottom. You can also place it in a tray, and it'll kind of mimic the same type of pot. And the same thing goes for seedlings. When you're watering, you can get a tray that has holes in the bottom, but they also make these trays without holes in the bottom. So basically, depending on what you're planting, some plants like more water than others. Starting your seeds, just starting with a basic starting mix is what you normally would do. You really want to think about what type of soil you're doing until you get the seedlings to germinate, and then you would kind of transition into a more composted soil that could have wood chips, or if you can see that, a little bit of compost, and you can add some sand to this to get an additional germination level if you're looking for that, or just to help with it with drainage. You can also place rocks at the bottom of your containers when you're transplanting. So say if you're starting with an already grown out plant, instead of you going straight in with the heavy soil, you can put a layer of rocks at the bottom. That will also assist with drainage. I usually do that with indoor plants because you don't want them in standing water, because then they'll start to have bacteria infections and root rots, and it can kill your plant. So whatever ways you can maximize drainage, I would say you can definitely do that. When you're starting your seedlings, make sure you always use a label. So if you're keeping them outside, they have a garden marker that you can use outside for outdoor plants. If you use like a permanent marker, sometimes it'll wash away in the rain. So just be mindful to check your labels and label all your seedlings all the time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about planting potatoes in containers. So you pretty much can get away with planting pretty much everything in containers. And for me, I'm mainly a container gardener because when I first got started, I didn't have the in-ground space or yard space to plant. So I became so obsessed with planting in containers, and the more I learn, the more I know. So you can actually plant potatoes in containers as well and get just as many potatoes you can get in ground in the container. So what you're gonna do is you start off with 4 inches deep of soil, and then you're gonna put your potatoes in with the eyes facing up. And if you can see, it's like a little greenery coming out of there. So you're gonna put this up. You can use about 4 or 5 potatoes in this size of a container, and then you're gonna top it off with 1 inch additional of potting soil. Then you want to come back with your OMRI, which is your natural organic fertilizers, which have the nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. And once you do that, you're then going to top it off again with a couple more layers of potting soil. And then when you see the green leaves come up, basically you can add more soil on top of that to fill the container up as you go. Make sure you label it and date it so you'll know what you've planted, and just watch it grow. And so with this one, we're going to use a different type of soil, which is the humus soil, and basically we're going to do a test to see how much better the plant or the potatoes will grow with humus soil versus potting soil. So basically we would do the same thing that we did over here. We're gonna go ahead and do 3 or 4 inches, I'll say 4 inches of soil to start out with. You're gonna take your potatoes, make sure the eyes are facing up. You can see there. Get about 4 or 5 in here. And as you can see, this soil is a lot silkier than the potting soil. Light. I'm gonna go in with a layer on top. The humus soil is full of organic matter, but we can still add a small layer of natural organic fertilizer, which has the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Just sprinkle a little layer on there. And then once you do that, you can go back and top it off with another layer. Same way with over there, once what we did with the potting soil. Once you start to see the green leaves come up through the soil, then you can go back and add some more as you go to top it off. And you don't forget to label. This is the Petite Red Potatoes, date March 5th, 2021, and it's in potting soil. This one would be humus soil, so you have all the same information, but it'll be with the humus soil. And we'll see which one grows the fastest, which ones produce the best potatoes, and I'll be the taste tester.
Okay, so first I'm going to talk to you about tilling the soil. When you till the soil, there are there are disadvantages to tilling the soil. Number one, it disrupts the soil structure. So let's say this is the ground and you have soil underneath here. When you till it, you're actually causing more weeds to appear. Not only that, there's soil erosion, and there is an issue with soil draining or soil drainage. But when you use the no-till method, you're basically layering it like a lasagna. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my cardboard boxes. I take off the tape. I take out the tape because I don't want the adhesives or the glue on my boxes that I'm going to put on the ground. Then I'm going to take out the staples in the boxes. So follow me. Okay, Kiana and I laid down cardboard boxes first. Then we laid the shredded paper on top, which is a carbon. And now what we're going to do, we're going to put the compost. We're going to put the organic compost on top of that shredded paper. And dump it. Now I'm ready to plant the petite red tomatoes. I'm sorry. So now I'm getting ready to plant the petite red potatoes. You want to go a minimum of 3 to 4 inches, and then come back and add more soil as you see the leaves on the potatoes. So I'm going to plant the potato. Make sure you have the eye sticking up. Once I finish planting my potatoes, then I'm going to put my organic fertilizer on the potatoes. Just gonna sprinkle it on here. Potatoes are heavy feeders. They love to be fed. Then I'm gonna take the soil, cover it up. I want you to notice there's a difference between this soil, which is the humus soil. This is also organic matter, but I literally got this out the woods. Last but not least, make sure you identify what it is you're planting. So on here I have petite red potatoes and the date in which I planted them, and this is the no-till method. Thank you for watching.